When this movie poster came out in 2023, many people, including myself, commented that it seemed fake, like it wasn't a real movie, like it wasn't a real poster. And then once the movie came out, it somehow still felt like it wasn't real. Today we are doing a redemption rewatch on Ghosted. Ghosted was an Apple original film released in 2023, directed by Dexter Fletcher. It is classified as an action comedy romance. So the story is Cole, who's played by Chris Evans, is a farmer, very sheltered kind of guy. He grows attached to people he dates very quickly. His family tries to help him with that. Well, specifically his sister tries to help him with that. She's still my second favorite character, even on the rewatch, because she's the one most rooted in reality, it seems. So I really like her. In addition to working on his family's farm, Cole is an aspiring writer and history buff. And he meets Sadie, played by Ana de Armas. They argue way too long about plants at a farmer's market. And for some reason, this argument leads everyone around them to think they have great chemistry. Honestly, I believe these two actors had better chemistry in Knives Out than they have here. And they weren't even love interests in Knives Out. So I don't know what that tells you. So they have a really like a day-long before sunrise kind of date. And, you know, he falls head over heels for her, of course, because he forms attachments very easily. She does not. And then, as the title suggests, Cole gets ghosted by Sadie. Eventually, he realizes he left his asthma inhaler in Sadie's purse. And of course, he has an AirTag on said inhaler because this movie is like a long ad for Apple products. So after discovering Sadie's whereabouts via this AirTag, he gets on a plane and goes to Europe looking for her. So upon arrival, Cole finds himself way more caught up in Sadie's world than he anticipated. I don't want to give you too many spoilers, so I'll leave it a little vague. But the whole time, every character that Sadie and Cole interact with comments, "Oh, get a room," or "Wow, the tension in here," you know, and it's just not true. There's hardly nothing going on. So they do have some chemistry during the date portion of the film, the rom-com section.
Oh gosh, don't tell me you're one of those big tough guys who's afraid to leave the country.
Okay, first of all, thank you for calling me big and tough. Let's keep that going.
However, before that and after that, they bicker more like siblings, and that doesn't equate to sexual tension, at least in my circles. To be honest, when I first saw this film in 2023, I didn't go in with the highest of hopes because, as I said, the poster seemed weird, the trailer seemed like this can't be real. And so I kind of went in like, okay, let's get this over with because Adrien's in it, you know. I reviewed this movie back in 2023 on my old channel. And in the video, it's so funny. I am so drained of energy talking about this film that it looks like I filmed the video under duress. Like you expect me to be holding up a newspaper with today's date or something on it. Adrien's role is fairly substantial. He is the main villain. His name's Leveque. He gets a decent amount of screen time here, which is good. It brings up the quality of the movie a little bit, having him around. It's quite funny. Of course, part of it was I was really uncomfortable on camera, and so I was all kinds of insecure, but the movie itself kind of drained all the joy out of me, and I did not want to review it. I did so because I felt like I had to. So, of course, Adrien Brody was the main reason I wanted to watch this film in the first place. He plays a character named Leveque, who is former French intelligence, I believe, and now works for a slightly more nefarious group. He's very sophisticated, kind of a Bond villain type. He wears great suits. He's just very elegant. Unfortunately, Adrien's presence wasn't really enough to make this a good movie. His scenes are pretty entertaining. There are actually a couple lines he had that I hadn't really remembered from last time, and they struck me very funny.
She called you an idiot.
Yeah.
To your face.
I honestly think Adrien's character provides a lot of the comedy, which is funny because his character is possibly the most serious one.
If anything should go wrong when you open that case, everyone on board dies. No pressure.
It's a very interesting combination.
Yeah, you do nothing. You coming with me.
Can I do nothing and come with you?
Which is a fair question, really. So it's all in his delivery, though, because when you type the lines out, they don't seem funny. But the way Adrien said them, it was quite good. So I think what really went wrong here is there are too many cooks, so to speak. This has 4 screenwriters, I believe, and it feels like each one wrote a movie. And then they just kind of cut and paste and ran it through an AI and tried to combine it all together. And this is what we're left with. It's so inconsistent. And the music, 90% of the time, the music, the needle drops, make no sense. For instance, there's a big shootout with Uptown Funk. Why? I couldn't tell you. There's a chase scene using My Sharona. I mean, it rarely makes sense. Another thing I found very distracting were Sadie's wigs. The placement on Ana de Armas's head is so wrong. There's maybe 1 or 2 scenes where her hair looks passable as real hair. When she's first shown, her wig is like too far forward. And then there's a couple scenes where it's kind of too far back. And then there's a scene where she and Cole are racing up the stairs, and it looks like it's probably a stunt person who just threw the wig on. And it's just, the wigs are just so obvious. They look like they came from Party City or something. And it's like, as much money as Apple has, you think they could afford, hair and makeup people who know what they're doing. Honestly, I didn't really have an issue with the makeup, just the hair. Honestly, I thought the bad wigs were going to be part of her character because she is kind of mysterious. She has a life Cole doesn't know about yet in the beginning. And I was expecting there to be a scene where she kind of, pulls it off and have it be part of her, act she's putting on. But no. Now, to be fair, there are a few things that work. There are some chuckles along the way that are intentional. There's several that are not intentional. But for instance, Cole is dragging his suitcase around when he first gets there. They're having action scenes and he's pulling around a little wheeled suitcase. It is quite funny. There's a lie detector sequence that's actually pretty fun until there's a joke that they kind of run into the ground, and that ruins that. But it started out fine. Now, without spoiling who they are and what they do, there are a lot of cameos here, and they're pretty fun when they pop up. I initially gave Ghosted 1.5 stars on Letterboxd back in 2023, and upon rewatch, I gave it a 2. So it did redeem itself a little bit, I guess. It's still quite weak upon re-examination, but it gets another 0.5 star because I forgot a couple of good lines Leveque had. So I think that's where the other 0.5 star came from, was appreciating his role more. It's also a very good look for him, I must say. Well-cut suits and the very groomed facial hair, and his hair is a nice length. Honestly, between the genres this film's trying to be, which is rom-com and action, I would say it succeeds more on the action front. The fight choreography is quite good. Ana de Armas is pretty impressive with her firearms work. I would say the third act is by far my favorite part. They kind of stick the landing, I would say, other than Uptown Funk being used during the climactic fight sequence. That made no sense whatsoever. You can kind of see where parts of this film are good or could have been. And it's kind of sad, you know, it's wasted potential. So, as I said, it did redeem itself a bit, bumped it up another half star, and I appreciated Adrien's performance more. I appreciated the humor more in general, and it didn't seem quite as out of place to me as it did the first time around. So, in those ways, it is better than I remember, but it's still not great. So if you're a big fan of Adrien or Ana de Armas, Chris Evans, if you like any of those people, if you're a Marvel person, you may want to check it out, and that's all I'll say about that. I think otherwise, it's not really worth your time, I'm afraid. So maybe skip this one unless you're somebody like me who needs to see every Adrien Brody movie. Thank you so much for watching my redemption rewatch of Ghosted. I appreciate you hanging in there during my hiatus I took from the channel. I am hopefully back at making videos regularly. A lot of the issues I was having have been worked out. You may be wondering where the movie posters went, by the way. I had to take them down because I had to move this shelf around and it wasn't quite, you know, even anymore with where the posters were. After I get everything, all the furniture in place where it needs to be, I'll probably slap them back up there. So again, thank you for watching, and I will hopefully see you again. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. It's free. It's basically the same as a follow.